What's going on, everybody? This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we have got to break down who are my top 10 offensive coordinator candidates to replace fired offensive coordinator for the Chargers, Greg Roman, in today's video. We are going to go 10-1, so make sure that you stick around throughout the entirety of the video so you can see who my number one OC candidate is. But more importantly, I've got a name that I don't think anybody else is talking about that I think could be a real dark horse for this OC job in LA, and I think he would be a damn good coach in that spot. So make sure that you stick around for that name. But before we get into it, let me know, how long have you been a Chargers fan since? I have a couple of really close friends in my life, Brandon and Justin Anderson. They were Chargers fans basically from birth, so much so that they even got me a little bit into LT and Antonio Gates back when we were younger, back when we were kids. Even had a LT Fathead back in the day on their basement wall. Thought it was pretty freaking cool. So let me know, when did you start liking the LA Chargers? Was it back when they were in San Diego or prior to the move to LA? Let me know down below in the comment section. The first offensive coordinator candidate that I want to talk about in this video is going to be Josh McCown, the quarterback coach over there in Minnesota. Now, I understand that maybe it wasn't the best passing season this year for the Vikings, but McCown is a consummate pro, right? He's a former lifetime backup quarterback in the National Football League. He's been bouncing around a little bit as a position coach now. He's the type of player and personality that everyone believes one day will be an NFL head coach and will be a successful NFL head coach. Well, if he's going to reach those goals, he would need to turn into being an offensive coordinator, and I do think that he could do a pretty darn good job with Justin Herbert in LA. Next, we need to talk about someone that could be promoted from within, and that, of course, is quarterback coach Shane Day. You can say a lot of things about the offense, and there are a lot of negatives, but I will say that Justin Herbert, for the most part, had a pretty darn good year. When you look at what this team was, it was a great defense, and when Justin Herbert played as Superman, Chargers won a lot of games. When he didn't play as Superman, there were some struggles, but he played as Superman more often than not, and that could be because of the coaching of Shane Day. Look for him to be a potential promotion from within. Next guy we got to talk about is Jake Peetz, passing coordinator over in Seattle. Now, that offense has been humming this year. Now, obviously, there are some bugaboos with Sam Darnold, but for the most part, that passing attack was really explosive this year. Obviously, Darnold having over 4,000 yards, but more importantly, JSN being the number one receiver in the National Football League in receiving yards. Jake Peetz could be someone that comes in and gets the most out of this wide receiving core that, frankly, has been a little bit lackluster, while also getting Justin Herbert back the confidence that he needs to be a quality QB in the National Football League, which I think he is. The next guy that I want to talk about is former Washington Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury. Kingsbury is actually a very sneaky good hire for the Chargers, in my opinion, because when you talk about Kingsbury and a lot of his deficiencies, those were when he was a head coach. When Kingsbury is just sitting back, designing plays, few are better than him, and we saw what Kingsbury can do with the top-tier quarterback talent, getting the most out of Kyler Murray, who I think Herbert is better than, but also getting the most out of Jaden Daniels over in Washington in that first year. Now, obviously, this last year didn't go according to plans. Jaden Daniels was hurt most of the year. Marcus Mariota, another Oregon football quarterback, actually had one of his better years in Kingsbury's offense. So imagine what would happen if Kingsbury's back to just being the play caller, calling plays for Justin Herbert, the amount of growth that we could see happen from Justin this season. I think it would actually be a sneaky good thing for the Chargers. Last coach that we need to talk about is the passing game coordinator over for the Denver Broncos. That is Davis Webb. Davis Webb, obviously having coached under Sean Payton, knows what it's like to coach a winner. But more importantly, what are you seeing out of Bo Nix, another Oregon quarterback? You're having one of his best years as a QB in the National Football League, and they've led that team to the number one seed in the AFC. So not only would the Chargers be weakening a little bit of what that Broncos coaching staff would be, but you'd also be grabbing one of their guys who has helped make that offense really hum this season. And I know that it's not always been perfect, but they won a lot of dang football games, and they won a lot of dang football games because Bo Nix was throwing the football pretty darn well, at least in the clutch. Would be someone that could come in, instantly plug in with Justin Herbert. You could see a lot of growth there. Before we get into my 5-1 picks to be the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, I do need to let you know that you need to subscribe to the channel. The latest news, rumors, trades, anything on the draft, free agency, more. Subscribe to the channel. It's all free, which I think is the best part. But the most important thing that I do want to mention is when there is news breaking for the Chargers, we get a video out to you. Within 20 minutes of the news breaking on Greg Roman being fired and Mike Devlin being relieved of their duties, guess what? We had a short out here on the channel. You don't want to miss out on anything that's going on with your favorite team, so come on in and hit that subscribe button. The fifth candidate that I have for this offensive coordinating position would be Nate Scheelhaase, the passing game coordinator for the LA Rams. He has become a hot name in coaching circles, a younger coach right now, so he would be someone that comes in, has an innovative mind. You've seen the passing attack really flourish in LA. Stafford having one of, if not the best years that he's ever had in his career, potentially going to win his first MVP award. You saw Puka Nacua have another great year. Devontae Adams, a career resurgence. And what that Rams team is doing with the tight end packages, it's frankly incredible. What Scheelhaase also does a great job of doing is understanding the personnel that he has and how they want to attack defenses. That is the best at getting the most out of your talent. I think that the Chargers could really use someone that is maximizing the talent around that offense because it certainly wasn't being done in the previous year. Next, at number 4, Todd Monken, the OC for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, there was a change in regime there, but you know that Monken understands the Harbaughs well, having been the offensive coordinator for brother John this past year and for a couple years over there. I think there's a clear Harbaugh connection where Jim and Monken would clearly get the most out of each other. They understand what they want their offenses to look like. And I think Monken does a great job of getting a strong run game going that leads to easier passes for the quarterback. So I do believe that the rushing attack would improve while also Justin Herbert having easier and easier throws. Next, I've got my top 3 offensive coordinator candidates for the Los Angeles Chargers. And most importantly, I still haven't mentioned that name that I told you need to be on the lookout for. So if you want to know who my number 1 candidate is and my dark horse candidate, make sure that you stick around. But before we do that, I do need to hear from you. Who do you want to be the next Chargers offensive coordinator? Do you want it to be someone that I've listed already? Is it going to be someone that's coming up in my next 3 candidates? Or is it someone that's completely off my board? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'm always down there replying, hearting, doing all those important things that helps this channel grow and let you know that I do see you. And I do hear your opinions. So go down below in the comments. Let me know who you think the OC should be next year. Brian Daboll has got to be top 3 on most lists. And in fact, I bet you on most lists, he's actually top 2 or 1. Daboll has had a fantastic coaching career. And I understand that while in New York it didn't go all that well, I would mention that Jackson Dart's best games were when Brian Daboll was still the head coach over there. Josh Allen's best years, they were when Brian Daboll was the OC in Buffalo. Why is that? Because Daboll likes tall, strong-armed quarterbacks that have great accuracy and can move a little bit. Who does that sound like to you? Sounds like Justin freaking Herbert. Daboll would be able to come in and maximize QB1 to the utmost of his ability. Finally, we would have an OC paired with Justin Herbert, and I say we because I watched him for plenty of years over at Oregon and had a lot of frustration with how they coached him. We would have an OC that got paired with Justin Herbert that would get the most out of him, build confidence, and let him fully reach his potential. As good as Justin Herbert has been, it does feel like at times his coaches are holding him back. Finally, there wouldn't be that excuse because you know Daboll would get the most out of him, and that would lead to getting the most out of the team. My dark horse candidate is my number 2 candidate, and that is David Shaw, the passing game coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Those of you who are too young to remember or who really just don't watch a lot of college football are not going to remember that David Shaw was a coach on the coaching staff over at Stafford with Jim Harbaugh, Stanford, of course. So when he was with Harbaugh at Stanford, Stanford had some of the most successful years that they have ever had as a football program. And then Shaw took over and continued a lot of that success for multiple years before finally that Stanford team just couldn't get over the hump of, well, being Stanford and not being able to get some of the best players in. Shaw and Harbaugh, they work well together. They know what type of offense the other one wants to run. They have their own kind of sixth sense about different things, and they can build a team up and continue to strengthen a team. They did it when they were both at Stanford. I think they can do it with this Chargers team, and most importantly, Shaw does a great job of getting in great offensive linemen. What do the Chargers need? Great frickin' offensive linemen, specifically in the interior of the O-line. So look for Shaw to potentially be a dark horse candidate in this one. My very last OC that I would love to hire is a long shot, not because I don't think he would take the Chargers job, but because I think there's a chance that Mike McDaniel may end up being a head coach. But if he does not, Mike McDaniel has to be number one on your board to be the offensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. It would be an absolute home run. He does a great job of mixing run and pass, mirroring up the scheme so it makes life easier on the quarterback to throw the football. His rushing attack is worlds better than 90% of the National Football League. He got the most out of Raheem Mostert. Imagine what he could do with Amari and Hampton. I think that Mike McDaniel coming in as the offensive coordinator, it would be a short marriage, but it would be a great marriage. You would see this offense explode to levels that it has never exploded to before. This last year, you won games because of how great your defense was. Imagine how good the Chargers will be and how many more games they could possibly win with a great offense to match up with that great defense. Those are my candidates to be the offensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. Make sure that you come on in and hit that subscribe button here on the channel. If you want Chargers content, we got you covered in the year of 2026. Make sure that you come on in and hit that sub button. You're going to love what we're doing here at Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and bolt up.